Hi there, I'm Timothy Linsdale, video producer, Christian, and today I'm putting on my science cap on the agonizing struggle that continues over origins of our universe. What are these agonizing struggles? We try to understand from what we can see and observe what might be repeatable evidence that shows us where things came from. And I'd like to go over some questions that come to me in this struggle we seem to have. And one of those is the Big Bang Theory. It's not really been proven as a fact. It's more of a speculation based on the needs for deep time for evolution to develop what we see today. So evolution's commonly taught in all public schools and universities as the origins of what we see. And of course the arguments go on from mostly religious sources that it was created or made. Even American native tribes have creation stories in their culture. One of the questions is things in science need to be observable, measurable, and repeatable to be good science. And there's some problems with the Big Bang, and one of those, which is usually one of the biggest arguments, is that if the Big Bang came from an object the size of a pear, where did the pear come from? So you end up back in this circle. It had to be something that came from. The age of the Earth. Scientists say 4.6 billion years. Well, let me throw a question out there. Earth's magnetic field would have run down somewhere before 100,000 years based on its decay. Where does that leave us? Short-lived radiocarbon atoms can last maybe no more than 100,000 years. So where does that leave us? So if the Earth is billions of years old, why does it still have a magnetic field? And why is short-lived radiocarbon found in Earth's natural resources that are supposedly millions of years old? Questions. Geologists use good science to date rocks. Well, I guess that could be. But it cannot directly measure the age of a rock. And none of us watch these rock layers form except what might come out of a volcano. And I've seen conflicting date ages coming out of Kilauea volcano, which I've seen in person. And when those were dated from recent lava flows, they showed hundreds of thousands of years old. So there was a problem. Also, isotope-based dates for the same rock sample don't always agree. So there we go. A question to consider is how can we trust radioisotope dating for rocks formed in the past if what we have presently today don't match up? So how do you decide which one's right? Another one that's come up recently, and I've read some articles on this, is scientists are close to creating life from non-life. And that, you know, you've probably seen these diagrams of scientific experiments going on where life appeared in something, some kind of soup. Louis Pasteur, I think, was one of the 19th century scientists that made that same attempt that never showed anything of life coming from non-life. Now, one of the big problems with life coming from non-life is its complication. We haven't yet seen a DNA molecule made by anybody anywhere. Some have tried some things that seem to be that, but they still had to take the information from a DNA molecule that they already had. So it's not the same thing as creating life from non-life. No, is it? Okay, since here's another difficulty. Since the cell's energy, information storage, and metabolic machinery all depend on one another. This is another problem with origins. All of these things have to happen together at the same time. The first cell could not have arisen through natural processes unless all three intricate systems sprang up at once. Also, body cells break down when they're not part of a living being. That's a failure in the story of life from non-life. These things have to arise all at once for this to function, for this to last. So there we are. Even as scientists coax natural processes to make DNA, what good would that do without the proteins required to make these things work? That's a problem. What are the odds of unguided processes somehow obtaining and developing these proteins? That's one of the things about this, that in origins, is how did something all get created at once to maintain a life? That seems to be a problem. Now, evolution explains the origins of species like a tree. It starts out with a single cell and continues to evolve from the survival of the fittest. That's part of the story. That it changed. One developed something and survived better than another one did, and that's so it grew up in this tree where one species became more complex and more complex and more complex till the system came up with human beings. Now, we see variation within an animal kind, such as, when I say kind, it would be like dogs, cats, fish of a specific kind, let's say trout. These creatures function within a kind, and actually they can interbreed, but they can't outside of that kind. Creatures within a kind might develop trait variations to adapt to changing environments, but we never see fish turn into frogs or earthworms into something more complicated. Cats make cats, and frogs make frogs, and worms seem to be worms. You know, to be good science, these things need to be repeatable, observable. Nobody's ever seen this stuff. Nobody's ever seen one species change to the next. We do see adaptations, such as the finches with different beaks, crocodiles with different snouts. That's what we do see. So scientists can't agree on any of the proposed transitional creatures found among fossils. They try to map animal and human ancestry by observing similar traits between creatures. But researchers makes a different map as each one crafts a new story of how the same traits spontaneously evolved many times in different kinds. So I guess the question there for the ancestry, is there a single scientific paper that documents the transformation of one kind of organism into a completely different kind? None that I've ever heard. Something we've not observed or see evidence anywhere in the fossil record. What do many kind of different ancestry scientists compose for the same set of creatures suggest about the process of crafting them? So there we are. As a kid, I always seemed to have a talent for finding fossils. I enjoyed that. But the thing is, you never find that transitional fossil. Now, something that huge to evolve everything we see, there's got to be some evidence that shows us it happened. So on goes the struggle. What happened? Did some being make this stuff that we see around us in our own flesh? Or did it slowly evolve until we have what we have today, like the human hand? It's quite an agonizing struggle that we go on with here. So get out there in nature, look around for yourself, see what you think. Like and comment on my video, subscribe to my channel. Have a great day.